It's 3:17. The Florida Mayhem are your 2023 world champions. It's Yiska and I to usher in a new dawn. Here we are, Overwatch League. We don't know what's happening next. But what we do know is that Sombra's apparently getting a facelift. Apparently, we're walking into the leak apocalypse because I'm sure Albert's not the first one, and I'm sure he won't be the last one. And this may be the longest offseason, but I think it has the potential to be the most exciting in some ways. What do you think? Do you think this is like the start of like a leak rat race?
I feel like he squeezed a couple of fools out of information that was already readily accessible. Okay, I learned one thing.
I was impressed. I was very impressed. Okay, to be fair, you're incredibly plugged in. Like you have to think from like a lay perspective.
I think if someone was look here, pay me $700 and I probably find you a public reference to every single one of those codes. Like. No.
At least half, yeah.
Yeah, no, he juiced you guys. That's but fair play. I think he also knew where to draw the line because you know, being juiced up a little bit yourself, you definitely see where some punches are pulled, which is fair, which you should. Which, by the way, like just the optics of selling leagues for subs is like if you're not doing it tongue-in-cheek way, like it's a little weird, right? Like,
Hey, I'm down for the entrepreneurial spirit, especially in this economy, in this esport. Come on, we got to do what we got to do.
They're profitable, okay? They can't complain.
Who's they? What do you mean? No, it was hilarious. It was fun to think about all the trips down memory lane. Let me hit you with one that I'm still not sure on, and we had conflicting reports in the chat. So, do you have any recollection of a match or Dallas in Season 1 being delayed or pushed to field a different starting roster because Taimu had to take a fat dump?
No, the story is mistold. The reason why Seagull ended up tanking was because like Taimu in the warm-up had something going on. And then they were like, oh, Seagull is actually not bad on D.Va. And then
okay. I think Seagull like corrected that in the chat, but the way that he made it sound, I wasn't sure if to believe him or not. It sounded like he was just like telling Tasmo he's a liar.
No, Tasmo, like the way he said it sounded like Taimu was on stage like having the runnings and he like Seagull's just like, I'm Superman, I'm coming in a live hot match while my teammate is dropping a hot dookie. Like that wasn't the case, right? Like it was a little bit more delayed and little bit more intentional to bring Seagull in than it was communicated. I think like Tasmo was probably not disagree with how Seagull was eventually put on tank, that it was more a circumstantial thing. But as Albert also said, yes, this shit happens. This man put checkmate on tank, okay? Like he knows how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Sometimes you just got to do things. I think the only tank player that has ever unironically had a minus in performance or a dip in performance due to actually having to take a shit was Kaiser in Apex Season 1, no?
Yes, because of grapes.
Yes.
Cold grapes, I think, was the problem.
Cold grapes? Who eats warm grapes?
As in, like, frozen grapes, I think, was the problem.
Okay. Huh. I didn't know. That is
But maybe that's just, like, my mind adding something extra. But like, just would you really have a problem with eating too many grapes? I think I could eat near infinite.
I think they're like a natural diuretic. I think
really
they do. Yeah, I think they do keep you regular. Yeah.
No.
Maybe his like stomach just doesn't handle grapes. I don't know. Question for Kaiser.
Interesting. I mean, why do you not reach out and ask about Kaiser's bowel movements, Joe? Do some investigative journalism for once. My God.
You know, I won't lie. There has been an itch after, like, it kind of spurred up last night. Yeah, I know.
Where's this going?
I get it. You know, who knows? Looking at the history of like competitive Overwatch and their fines, because I feel like there's a lot of lore there that a lot of new kids don't remember or like never got clued in on.
Yeah, I'm trying really desperately to get people to juice, but like for some reason they don't want to smoke. I don't know.
No?
Yeah.
They're not trying to smoke on that juice pack?
I don't know why they won't. But yeah, like there were some like, of course, like this is baby's first esports, right? But way back in the day, and like the rules were just not set. You also have to say that the way coaching staffs worked in the early days was actually pretty advanced in comparison to other esports. Like we had ridiculously large coaching staffs, also because we had such large rosters, and like sometimes teams would have 4 coaching staffs and whatnot, and like the rules were really invented on the fly on how something works. Like nobody before the Overwatch League was really tried and tested. Like people flew in and out of teams super quickly. So yeah, there was definitely some stuff where you're just like, yeah, you haven't even I would not let you coach my 3-year-old football team, right? Like of 3
of course
not. It's just crazy.
Yeah. This is my prediction, okay? Since I feel like I aced playoffs a little bit, or I feel like I was the closest to acing it. I'm gonna hit the chat with a couple predictions, okay? One, more especially talent begin to juice. It won't be like personal like vendetta building juice, but I think like more people with Albert streaming this, and I think Plat Chat, I think they could probably like share some stories, at least some fun stories. I feel like the juice off season, especially in the midst of like the great scrim leak at the start of the season, I feel like people are opening up a little bit more to it. It felt like Gravy and Apply were both popping off in chat a little bit. I feel like there's like some hidden gems in there. I think they shared a couple anecdotes with some former staff members on what they had said to them. So if you're so inclined, I know all these. I think a lot of these like synopses of Albert's stream are passing around, but I feel like people really need to dig through that chat because I feel like there's a couple players in there that were saying some hotness.
It feel like really most of the juice that will be shared is stuff that has already been spelled out and has been forgotten. Because also on this very show, Joe, how is Shouldergate such an enigma? Like it's all out there. We know everything. We know absolutely like it. We could literally make a legal case. Okay, we could write scientific papers. We have so much evidence at this point.
We do have a lot of evidence, but I feel like people want like the actual story. And that here I'm gonna step back for a second. What was frustrating about that entire thing was just like the silliness of the chatters who would just feed subs to Albert, who obviously like nobody is like the VP of esports for Misfits and like the GM for the Mayhem, and they're like, so what happened with the Spark? And he's like, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do with that? Like, he knows his team and like a little bit more outside of that. Like, he's heard things. What do you want him to do?
As if they just like threw $3 into the Oracle of Delphi. Like, please tell me the truth on everything. Like, what?
But that's what I think. Like, people unironically want. And I think that he probably has like a better idea than most as to like what happened with like all these like little like drama tidbits. But like he's smart enough not to just tell you what you already know, and B, like, what is he really going to add to like the public discourse? Like, we already know what happened with Shouldergate for the most part.
Yeah,
there's really not too much to add unless you go to those people and they share their side of the story.
But they already did. They already did, Joe. We already had DePay on this show saying they pulled security footage and everything. It was all rules above board.
Oh,
all of this is out.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember that.
Okay, yeah. Well, right. Like, maybe that's me.
Guilty as charged, my friend.
I don't know. I have encyclopedic knowledge of drama. Okay.
I feel like we need a lore episode. I feel like we need to resurrect Blue, and they need to do like a fucking trivia show of lore in the Overwatch system.
Yeah.
Past, present.
Yeah.
Within the league and outside of it. Yeah. So many good little tidbits. Do you remember, what's hilarious is I showed Kenobi the Overwatch Open beef between Huck and ZP not too long ago. And he was like, bro, I had no idea this happened. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Good times.
The one thing, like, I only heard that Albert was doing this like after it was already finished.
Yeah,
part of me thought like, what if you make a burner and just like ask all the actual juicy questions and make it really I drop a cool $30 on like all the questions that nobody ever spelled out, and now you got to really go into. You would have never seen a man say, "I don't know anything about this," while knowing about this. Like, right? Like, there's just also some stuff you should just not talk about, right? Like,
yes,
this
and
is not your place.
There was a lot of people wanted him to talk about.
You really pulled the line, found the line on what to talk about. Yeah.
And that's what raises my eyebrow, especially with that Avast stuff. That Avast like teased like some crazy nuclear, Oppenheimer juice. And somebody asked Albert about it, and he's like, he kind of he skirted around it. It was like, it's really personal, like that's some like heavy stuff. Like, I'm not going to be the one to talk about it first, but if somebody else talks about it, then I'll talk about it. So that clues me into like the ether of like, I think people are getting ready to like want to like share stories, and that I think inherently starts to piece together some of the pictures for people. And I think this is coming. The one person who I unironically hopes shares, and this isn't like any pressure, but I think they just have a lot of stories. I want Custa to start talking. I think Custa has seen some shit. He's been a part of some shit, and he's got books to fucking rant about. Yeah. If there's one person that I want to pass the torch to, I feel like that would be a fun. That'd be a fun campfire listening session of what Custa got up to. Like
in one way, I think like, for what? Why do we need this? But maybe it's fine to establish that as like a tone as to go forward and be more open about that stuff.
We need lore.
Yeah, and be a little bit more upfront with certain Jews and like, because I recently read an article. And I think that really rings true in Overwatch League as well, where it was like Sham and Vaj are the only rivalry left in American sports or something. And it's like, the reporters that get the leaks, basically, right?
Oh, okay, sure.
And everyone else is just like friends and it's like all good. Nah, throw some shit. That's what it's about, right? Like some blood feuds. I feel like that's like what made like the Jordan era really exciting, the Kobe era really exciting. Like, so to be fair, like I think during the first two seasons, it's really hard because you're in one location anyway.
Yeah.
And then like you also like there's just no reason to really start anything where there's not really any reason in Overwatch League to be adversarial, but maybe like just like make some shit up. I don't know. Like I feel like the fans are already that's my problem a little bit. Is like
okay.
There was like a discussion on fans feeling entitled to shit on Donghack. Because ATL has no one but themselves to blame, and it's totally fine. Like the sports model is to just talk some shit, and if one player plays shit, then you ought to just like go in on them.
I mean, I'm down for that, but like let's embody that, in a healthy aspect, like elsewhere as well, where it's like, it's okay to like tell somebody that they performed poorly, and like I would be of that ilk. I didn't think Donghack performed very well, and
that's fine. But like to bring the vitriol into it, that you might, in my opinion, erroneously feel about the Atlanta Reign, because were they really the bad boys? Is some weak shit. Like if those are the bad boys, fucking hell, right? Like that.
Like this is not the season to paint Atlanta as like the bad boys. Like again. I feel like you were very like public about this. I feel like other people have talked about this in the past. Like Atlanta in seasons past, like trolled scrims like crazy.
Yeah, but like even that known. Yeah, but it's just like public, and everyone does, and it's like not that extraordinary. And like to go in on the 17-year-olds that like already like, especially like doing that after the speech he gave for rookie. Bruh. And then like, is this supposed to be sport? No, it's not sports. This is esports. None of your moral intuitions work here. you don't have someone that can dry their tears off with 21 million a year, right?
True.
Or something.
Yeah, ain't that
you don't have anyone that has gone through an academy system, has extensive media prepping, has gone through like interviews a million times before standing on stage. You do not have anyone that like is in the position of playing like such a huge match at 17, when in most sports you peak at 25 or something, where you have gone through years of preparation. Like it's nothing alike, my friends. Like esports is, you're also way closer to the players, one DM away. Like the distance is just completely different. Therefore, your moral intuitions have to align to that, right? Like you cannot move the same way. And if you want to be able to like just like pub shit talk, and like to a degree, like talking some shit on Reddit and like in a joking manner, or even in a slightly serious manner, is fine to some degree, right? But like the thing that also esports affords you is that the complexities are less so intransparent. You pretty much know who's responsible in teams if something fucks up, right? Like there's also only so many players. Like, why would you go in on Donghack? Why would you not go in on like anyone else, right? Like, for the unalignment or whatever. Like, I think that's also a little bit of a disconnect on how Overwatch at the pro play level actually works in terms of like flaming the tank. Like, it's very often the case that it's a team failure, right? So, yeah, I don't get me wrong. I don't generally disagree that like shitting on someone for playing badly is a problem. I think it's more like if it feels too personal, and then like just employing the moral intuitions and saying like, oh, but ATL, like this kid has nothing to do with ATL other than having signed the contract there, right? Like,
I think that says more about you and your dislike of ATL than it does anything else.
Yeah, I don't know, but that was really weird. And once again, like this, we have attracted a sports audience by catering to location. Personally, I know I'm not going to be like, because like most of you listening to this will probably hate me for this shit, but I like if Overwatch League actually falls and we get a new system, I hope you're all gone. I don't care for your ilk whatsoever. You bring shit values. Like, your discourse is whack as fuck. Like, bring actual esports fans into this that understand like what values to champion, that it is about players, not about teams, that it is about like endemic people working towards the industry, not like being shed out into some random space on the planet. That's esports, and it has been esports. And like, if this is Johnny's first esports, you gotta learn on the next round.
Yep, true. It's time to learn. It's also time for us to learn about a whole bunch of new shit. Again, Sombra's getting a facelift. We got to talk about that. We're gonna go over the playoffs. We also are going to unveil a new segment that we're calling Hills to Die On. What that means, we'll have to see. But we can't get new segments, we can't get new content without you lovely people. So 317 is brought to you by Battlecrab, Refund, Being Bronzebot, Boo How, Picasso, Lolshin, Pork Chub, Sammy, Rexane, Volamel, and Sugar Hider. YouTube members Blave, Bliss, IMDRW, Brother Adamel, Ice Angela, Firelit6, and AK. Playoffs. They're done and dusted. Mayhem lost 2 maps, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of nuts to think about.
Yeah. To frame it that way as well, right? Yeah. Actually,
they lost 2 maps. It was not close.
No. It, like, the Boston series felt a bit closer than just 3-1.
Yeah.
And I think, like, yeah, I kind of felt in the beginning like that Boston was probably going to be the last remaining team once it got to the Final Four that had any chance staying against them. I think like saying Spark is Cope. I'm pretty sure they get rolled.
Yeah, no.
Like, the what folks don't understand is how weak Dive actually was this patch. And the other teams just like handshaking on Dive just because they themselves are more comfortable on this is a major mistake. Yeah. Like, you should just opt into the uncomfortability and then just slap them on Ryan. I promise they're worse. right? So, but yeah, maybe there was also a little bit of an issue of not getting to practice against quality Ryans because they were in upper bracket. That's also a fair assumption to say, and that was probably much easier for other teams that came from the lower bracket to actualize that. So maybe it's a little unfair to assume that of others. But yeah, I felt like there was a little bit of hubris in play there to just handshake on dive, especially if you start losing. I assume you prepped other compositions for Mayhem anyway. Just bring those out. Yes, you're revealing some shit, but it's like you gotta get to Mayhem first, right? Yep. Like
you can't just hold the ace in your sleeve and just hope you get there. You can't look forward in the bracket until you get there, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but yeah, dominant playoff performance. I agree that the bracket probably worked into favor. I still don't believe there's a double or a single elimination that makes it meaningfully more competitive. I think Mayhem was just like clearly the best team. Probably as much distance as Shanghai had, to be honest. Because Dallas at least was still somewhat close. I think only realistically like Boston and ATL in the direct matchup at any chance. Everyone else was just going to get rolled.
And even then, it was just like going to be close. Like I don't see a world where any of these teams unironically beat Florida, unless you're getting like prime Atlanta, and it like even then, I don't know what that even looks like.
Yeah, no, these kids rolled in. Like I said it on. Okay, so the truth be told, right? I went to press conferences I think I missed one with Boston, which I very much regret because I feel like the Boston story is once again way undertold, and we got to figure something out there as well because I really feel like we're underserving them this year. But the first day they had someone and checkmate.
Okay.
And checkmate is like, dude, that guy is not my favorite player. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
It's like I feel like he's the glue player for this team.
Okay.
Like,
see that?
And it's a really strange definition of that type of player. So yes, someone is the team captain that keeps it all together, that keeps the energy high. But you have to have someone or a person on the team that both has an insane drive, but also is willing to be extremely selfless.
Right.
And when I asked Checkmate if he was okay with being substituted by WhoRU in that case, I felt like he meant it when he said it didn't matter to him. He really only cared about winning. So that was dope. And the line that he delivered, and I'm sure Swing Chip also had an excellent, like, I'm not sure how eloquent that singular line is without Swing Chip also finagling something here and there. I'm not sure like who framed the line to be as dope as it was, but like the post-match press conferences where where he said we are here always ready to play more games, right?
Yeah.
Or we will be here always ready to play more games. Dude,
in reference to like the future of Overwatch and like whatever comes next.
But that shit is so dope. And then the line that followed it was, "We're just waiting for you guys to call."
Oh,
dude, that shit hit me right in the fields. Like I was like I had more questions after. I was just like, okay, they're not getting there. Rather open the floor for others. And I felt like I was already a little bold with the question I asked there, so I let it pass. But yeah, I got my money's worth with that quote for sure. So like checkmate, I knew that guy is a champion. And then someone also like someone had a confidence that was comfortable. I got a little bit concerned for Chorong because Chorong has like the way this kid was talking reckless the entire weekend. Okay, like I swear this. Like if someone told me, yeah, and Chorong retired in 2028, and now he is a base jumper for Red Bull. Yes, like he's just a dopamine junkie, right? Like or the adrenaline junkie. He was like, while I was playing the final, I actually was a little disappointed that it wasn't as easy as it was. I would have liked to have more of the thrill and like them push more against us and take some maps off us. Like, okay, dude, you just
real shonen energy out here. Like, it wasn't even a good fight. Come on,
yeah,
give me something.
So, when on day 2 or 3, when I had an interview with Chorong, I asked, like, is there fear of you guys becoming a little too excited or cocky? And my guy went, excited and cocky, you say? Well, that might be true, but we will win it anyway.
True, based.
And that was
I'm gonna take it.
That was based, but that was the little doubt I had where I was like, ooh, hopefully that doesn't affect the team and they actually get too cocky here, right?
Sure.
But yeah, in terms of like how someone carried himself, how Checkmate carried himself, even though like this guy is just quiet and a little shy, I think. But ultimately, like all this kid wants is to be the best in the world and win trophies.
Yep.
And yeah, super nice player. Like it's exactly like the type of values I would like to see in the players that I follow. And then
I think that kind of concept of like being very selfless kind of bleeds elsewhere, where it's like you look at someone like there is no like comfort picks for him. Like he is that flexible player. He's gonna grind out whatever you need him to, and he I feel like that's kind of been very apparent through his career in these last 2 years. Another one, not to completely circle back to like Albert's like juice stream, but when it comes to someone's MVP kind of like rally that the Mayhem and their socials did, apparently they went to Merit and were like, look, we know that you're in the running for MVP, but like, do we have your express permission to like push someone? And Merit's like, go for it. Like that's okay. Like that to me, this is a team effort. Everybody in this team is selfless. Like they truly embody and believe doing whatever needs to be done to get the ring. You know what I mean? Like they're shooting for that title and it paid off.
Yeah. And I think that is something that I should also highlight because Merit did care. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not that he did not care about like the awards. He was part of the Chorong interview. He was much more humble. And he said like he didn't get a roll star, of course, because like of course it's like harsh, but I think like Stalker and Lib just in the time period when the votes had to be cast, I think it's very fair to give it to Stalker and Lib. And he said like, I'm sad that I didn't get it because I keep feeling if I had played a little bit better and pushed a little bit more, I could have gotten it. And for him to then get finals MVP, which by the way was absolutely deserved, I honestly, I would have to give it a think again. Albert said on the stream that he felt this was the most decisive,
the clearest
finals MVP. I'm not sure. It definitely wasn't Edison last year. In season 4, who was finals MVP? Was it?
I can look. Hold on. Obviously, like I think everybody in the chat especially was pointing at Prophet in season 1 being like finals MVP. Like that one felt pretty clear. Right?
Yes, true. Yeah. That's a fair one. That's a
clear cut one.
Yeah. But yeah, like he was just like playing lights out, and I honestly, that's a player that I underestimated. I think throughout this season.
Grand Finals MVP in season 4 was Lip. In season 3, it was not Violet. I remember that. It was Striker.
Season 2?
Season 2, I believe.
Sinatra, right?
It was Choi.
Choi. Oh yeah, true. Yeah. It was. And by the way, that was also really deserved.
That was a good one.
This dude,
because I think he kind of came back from being like an ass Sigma to like genuinely being like easily top 4, like that event.
Yeah, my guy was
really strong. Like that was. I feel like that's also one of those moments where like you can see somebody's growth from like kind of being uncomfortable on it or like not in sync with this team to being like incredibly rigid and like just in flow state in that event. But tangent aside,
season 2 playoffs, by the way, there's Oppenheimer juice there. Okay, if we're talking about Oppenheimer juice, that's where you look. Okay.
True, bro. A minor story? I remember being at that event, and literally everybody that I would trust to know anything, they were like, bro, Shock's gonna 4-0. And I'm like, what? Really? They're like, yeah, no, dude, this is not like it's their time. Like, it all felt too fucking phony and flimsy. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, Titans are unironically really good. Like, yeah, they went like close first to New York, but like New York were also really good too. Yeah, I was just so flabbergasted that I constantly heard that this was gonna be a 4-0 sweep everywhere. And yeah,
and keep in mind, like I say this and I realize it's like really drama baiting, but if there was anything to report for me as a journalist, I would have done so, right? Like it's just like not the type of story.
Nothing reportable, but like it's a story. Yeah,
it's a story. It's not like anything.
Do you think Harsh would talk about it? I feel like he would talk about it.
I don't know.
I feel like he hasn't he?
Maybe.
I feel like Harsh is juiced and like nobody's heard about it.
That could be true. Yeah.
I feel like that's in the ether that people just need to look up. So if you're fiending for more juice after Albert's stream and you can like tolerate some stuff, I would look up some Harsha content and just kind of skim through and see what you find, because there's some shit there for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like another great example of like Mayhem just being selfless, like again, like taking pay cuts. Like, to be able to sign somebody like Chorong, to be able to like maybe even think about getting somebody like Shy. Like, these were all things that were on the table for this team, and they like, you know, we had Albert on the show in the preseason. Like, they wanted this year to be their power spike year. To hear that they've also, I think the quote was that this was the lowest budget year, like the least amount of money that he was ever given, and they spiked this hard, like.
Okay,
that's like also crazy.
Yes, that's true, but it's also like to have decreased budget is just in line with everyone else, right? Like, sure, realistically,
that's fair.
Like, if you're giving less money, but the market is also shrinking, then your money, like, what's your purchasing power, basically? And yes, some teams didn't downsize it to the same degree, and there were definitely teams that really juiced still this year, right? So, like, I think Gamba mentioned to me like 7th or 8th in NA in terms of spending. And then winning the season is just crazy, right? Like that's
and
definitely
like not just like squeaking by, like convincingly winning the season. Like if we're gonna talk about like Shanghai levels of convincing, like it was pretty like decisive.
Yeah,
there wasn't really anybody that looked like maybe Boston to a degree, but even then, like they had their like Arisa Genji stuff, and that was about it. Mayhem just felt like they aced this patch. Like, they were so comfortable. Anything you could throw at them, they just had an answer.
Yeah. And, like, I don't want to get on my hill again, but, like, yeah, I wasn't... I think in the way that it concluded, I felt okay, because Mayhem was legitimately the second best team, and I think there was legit justification. There's 2 regrets, okay? The first one is that we never got the closure on the Florida against ATL arc. That we kind of were set up for the entire season. We never got to see that Apex. Because, why? Well, from the outside, you have to say, because a patch ruined the run that ATL had. You could say to a degree, well, wait, Yiska, they started crumbling because, like, already before the patch. I think, like, there were already some patches on the way that decreased the efficacy.
I think they were already starting to fall off in the regular season.
So, while your argument might well be, well, you got to do it in more meta states, well, then let's just crumble it all the time, right? Let's just play Apple Crumble the entire season, figure out who's the best team at figuring out these metas, which is definitely Mayhem this year, okay?
Yeah, easily.
They just, like, their understanding of several meta archetypes is so advanced, right? So in that way, if you think... like trying to figure out a patch in 10 days and being able to thrive in the volatility that is not knowing what the actual best meta comp is, at least for the relative skill level, because once again, keep in mind, the ability that the players play, the social construct around meta, that's all, and the balance state is all components of how meta works, right? But I just feel we need a consistent, and whatever comes after this, we need a consistent rule set that facilitates competition, that keeps it relatively consistent in what we are asking of teams throughout the entire competitive duration. I don't know if we're going to have a season. To be fair, we don't even know if Overwatch League is really done.
Is it a season? Is it a circuit? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, or if we're moving away from anything at all, right? But
sure.
The like, I think like Hero Pool is a bad execution on an idea that is not technically erroneous, which is if we're going to toss in a playoff patch anyway and crumble it all up, right? And we're going to get balance patches of which we cannot decide if it's heavy hand or know in advance whether or not it will be heavy-handed or not. And keep in mind the balance cycle as they're moving right now is you have one balance patch coming in every season of Overwatch, not Overwatch League, Overwatch season, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have one in the middle, like the 2.5 patch, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that, how long is the season? Like 8 weeks. So every 4 weeks you get a crumble, right? To varying degree. Is it 3 months? And then every 6 weeks, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. To varying degrees, this will change the meta, but that's not satisfying, right? Like to be at the whims of how heavily the game needs to be changed in order to be fun for the wider audience. We're never going to be priority for balance changes, right? So we need to employ systems that keep a consistent demand on the professional players that are playing this. Mm-hmm. And if you want to experience this meta volatility, I also feel like here's the curve, okay? You start out, and if everyone at the same time gets the patch and starts crumbling, then someone will figure something out. Someone will assume that's the meta comp. Sometimes that will remain. Sometimes someone will throw something else in, and that whatever that answer is then also up to scrutiny. And sometimes that discovery process will take place during the competition. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the relative skill level there is so different from how do I squeeze 2 or 3% more out of Winston Sombra dive. Okay. Right. It's an entirely different skill set. And it's also an entirely different way to get lucky, if we're being frank. If you decide for yourself that being able to thrive in most meta compositions, and sorry, I wanted to finish my thought. So I think the first how metas usually develop is like someone figures something out, throws it at the wall, either it sticks or it doesn't. There's a period of volatility where a lot works. Then one team gets dominant. Everyone assumes that's the comp. There will be some outliers that will go their own way, like a London, whatever. But the big teams will just opt into to that meta interpretation, will copy, because if you're getting your face punched in every, you might as well try, right? Mm-hmm. So at least for the top 3, top 5, top whatever teams, right? And then eventually, if you leave the meta alone long enough, someone will find out a solution because they're fed up being beaten by the best team. We saw that in GOATs, right? Yep. Yes, there were balance pages that were attacked by GOATs, but we eventually got the triple DPS, and whether or not GOATs would have made a comeback or not, well, that's the jury's out on that. We will never find out. But the basic point being, meta stability will inevitably fluctuate at some point anyway. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's something that you desire, so you let it run. Right. But realistically, what is happening is that balance patches are going to come in, a crumble will happen. Sometimes it will happen more than others. You don't want this to leave this up to organic means. You want to have a system like hero picks or hero bans to scramble up the competitive meta in a way where the discovery period that I talked initially about, where a lot goes, is extended until maybe very late into the patch where we get a better understanding. I think if you run this current playoff patch for 6 more weeks, it's very obvious that we're going to settle on 1 composition or 2 compositions, or rather at least 1 compositions on each map that will be deemed ideal, right? And that might mean Rhine comps on on
Gibraltar.
No, like like the cough maps or whatever on control.
Sure, yeah.
Right, like it might be something like this, right?
Sure.
And then it will sort of crystallize. But you really want to have like an anything. If you want an anything goes meta, that it's so hard to hit this by balance means, right?
Yeah,
to have a perfectly balanced you just want to elongate the discovery period. And how do you do that? You add complexity and volatility into the system that resets that discovery period to a prior level every X, right?
Sure.
Now, keep in mind that prescription is contingent on the type of competitive system that we have now. The way it might behave if we just have tournaments and we only meet every 3 weeks to bash each other sets in, what that might do to the scrim culture, what it might do to the information leak culture. Maybe people will be more protective of the information of the compositions that they play and will have more internal scrims, or rather will make pacts with certain teams to keep absolutely hum about the meta. We don't know how the social component will work there, right? But de facto, what we have is perfect knowledge basically of everyone at all times, because like everything is getting shared around through players, through coaches or whatever anyway, right? So we're playing with wall hack at all times on anyway. Like in terms of compositional wall hack.
Yeah, in terms of like information.
So like maybe that social component would change. We don't know. We would have to adjust to the new competitive environment. But like if just deploy strategies in order to have a coherent skill set throughout the entire duration of the competitive format. And once again, if folks come up and say, well, league playoff patch as well, A, that's trash. B,
doesn't mean that's right.
B, it's also like usually the meta compositions are not as wildly different as like other sorry, Eric brought up I just got stun locked on the thingy that Eric brought up on the stream. It's not as wildly different to play. Sometimes it is, and then it's trash. I'm sorry. Like if the LCK champion comes in, rolls all season, there's a playoff patch, and suddenly they're just like average. That's not satisfying. That's shit. That's garbage. I would not defend that either. So
I feel like that's a pretty consistent argument that you've had throughout the years, going through the manufactured volatility of hero pools. In the COVID era, going back to season 1, season 2, with the playoff patches really significantly altering the course of history. We have to be consistent, and I think the big word here is coherent. When we develop the league or whatever comes next, on like what we're testing for. Are we testing for the best team in the world? Then we have to kind of be a little bit slower at adapting and implementing these patches. And if that means that the competitive or the highest level of competition is not in lockstep with the casual audience, then that's just something we're gonna have to be okay with. Or is it that we're trying to test for the best Overwatch team, the most creative, the most adaptive, the most, the best ability to read the metas on the fly? Then we, like you said, maybe introducing something like a hero pools, or introducing more fundamental systems for the tournament structures, whether that be hero bans, increasing map bans, whatever that might look like. That kind of facilitates that kind of reward incentive structure, right? Like it's about finding what we want to be as an esports product and kind of going at that and leaning into it, rather than just going, oh, well, Blizzard has a patch and I guess we have to play it. It's like, well, no, we don't have to, especially these days. Like, who knows what happens next? We might not have to do fucking anything. So it's up to it's up to the powers that be moving forward on like what the rule sets are going to be.
Yeah. And the cool thing
now's an opportunity to change if we want.
Yeah, ideally, once again, like I think if we had competing products that could figure out what the best, what Overwatch wants to be, how it wants to be observed, how it wants to be played, how it wants to be admired, right? then we could figure that out and just have that be determined empirically by who watches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you could have tournaments where, like, there's just a competitive format with hero pools, and you just play an entire circuit for, I don't know, Plus Pro Series or whatever, right? Maybe it doesn't even have to be that big slip, right? But like smaller events that go through an extended period of time, not just like a one-off event where realistically nobody reaches sophistication in order to really say what it would look like in the end game, right? Of that particular rule set being thought through or played through. So, our discovery period was just cut short due to Overwatch League.
We would have coming in and big dicking.
And not that the quality of our discovery period was already hampered by Blizzard being really helicopter parents for what I perceived it to be and what I understood the professionals working these, especially third party, to have been the case, right? Like like there are various things where they were like really adamant about how to broadcast the game, how to play the game, what the rule sets would be, that were just like predetermined by Blizzard, by Team 4, and I understand that there was a lot of capital, of course, and a lot of pressure on this working out and them trying to prime the experience correctly. But you have to say, like, that also caught up. Like, you got to make mistakes in order to see what works, and we were like not allowed to make mistakes. And then like we were like, it was helicopter parenting to a T.
Yep, 100%. Well, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't want to remember, but also remember that like the reason why Apex was so beloved is because that's all we had. We had like a takeover event like every 6 months, and then we had Apex. That was it. Like there was no tournaments in the West.
And to be fair, like a lot of, I think like it's fair to say that there was also a lack of everything else, but it's also they brought so much experience from.
They did. It is a lot of column A, column B, but.
Of other esports, what worked there, they understood how to storytell, right? Like that's a
100%.
Universal transferable skill.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. Like the competitive format, I don't think that's worth. Like it's the worst part about Apex. Copying, pasting that it doesn't make sense, right?
Like, I'm looking at like that. Like Miller just that is the most meme-worthy shit that Sean Miller was like, oh yeah, you guys like Apex, right? You guys have phones.
It's like
come on.
It's like I really like kebab. So you want food that's wrapped in aluminium foil, right? Like it's like, come on, man! Like that's not what makes the kebab special, you know. So
oh man, one point that I do want to kind of bring up, because this is a weird, even kind of personal anecdote. Like when you're trying to compete in like performing music, when it comes to like even for kids that grew up in like the American education system and like went through band, there were competitions to go to, and there were different ways to like judge your performance, whether or not it was a piece that you studied and played the entire year and you became an expert at playing that one piece, or you went into what was called sight reading, where they gave you a piece that you had no idea what was there for, but you had a limited amount of time to kind of study it and play it to the judges.
Ooh, I like this.
And you know what I mean? Like, so there's realms at which we can kind of explore where it's like, okay, well, do we want to like deviate? Do we want to split and fork off what competitive Overwatch is? Do we want to have like meta competitions on like, going into this tournament, like here's the rule set that we're going to play with, here's the hero bans, here's like the balance changes that the devs or the tournament organizers are going to run, or do we want to just do like a complete, this is the patch we're going to play for the year and that's all we're going to do. Like I feel like either one can be successful, but we just have to kind of pull the trigger and do something a little different.
And I like, me, Joe. I'm a purist of zero change. Let the kids figure it out. But it's not sustainable in the model that of the game that we have. So we cannot have that thing. So I'm like, I've been sincerely convinced that the stability argument, it doesn't seem to vibe with the audience, and I'm fine to vouch for that.
Yeah.
I certainly also learned to appreciate the ability of teams to improvise, and I think it was really impressive what Mayhem was able to do throughout these playoffs with multiple compositions being played and to a really high level without really relying on a super deep roster.
Yeah.
And if that was to be the skill set looking forward, like I wouldn't be sad at all, right?
No.
Like this.
I think that's what Overwatch is. The Overwatch as a game has always been about, and we've talked about this a number of times. I've tweeted this, you've tweeted this. So many people have talked about this. Like, Overwatch is a game about flexibility. And like, I don't know that we've ever done a good job at rewarding that, because it is just kind of at the whims of like when the developers want to like give us novel content, and not when we choose to kind of create novel content on our own. Now, what I'm not saying is that I think we should manufacture randomized bullshit. What I do think is that you can kind of come together and however you want to decide. I don't think random is a good way to decide, whether it's like you can decide what the balance format looks like in the next tournament, and then you play that, and you can kind of decide who is the best, Overwatch team, much like the Mayhem kind of did all season. And I'd argue probably one of the best Overwatch teams to ever play the game. The amount of times that they would like bop around, they looked inscrutable when it came to like strategy at the moment. Nothing anybody threw at them really looked like it was really giving them a lot of trouble. Even if Houston, like you can go and review that final, Houston had a few leads. Mayhem just kind of like found a way to bring it back, whether there's from, a great macro presentation from like someone, or Merit just like hitting shots to win fights before they start, right? Like it was top to bottom, a great performance. And I would say one of the better performances that we've seen in a long time, if ever, at just being a good Overwatch team,
Yeah, no, for sure. I feel like their Overwatch IQ is super high on everyone on the roster, which is, I honestly like really discounted some of those players on their ability to do that. And I think where I'm most guilty of underrating on their in-game IQ was Merit. I thought this guy was
just
like
a fucking aim monkey,
aimbot, yeah, and he isn't, right? Like he's actually like a really elite hit scan player that absolutely understands how this game is supposed to be played and should be held in S tier regard, right?
Yep.
So
100%.
I honestly.
And that's a win for Chinese Overwatch. Let's go, boys. Let's go.
Oh, somehow
let's go.
It around. Yeah, no, I think that, you know what also really feels not like it helps me cope about how this playoffs went is it actually feels like the best team won this year.
Yeah.
And it was close because I think like had Atlanta won, then they would have been the best team, but not based on just the merits of winning the final. That's not how I determine if someone is the best team. Florida was neck and neck. They also won Pro Am, whatever weight you want to apply to that. They had pretty equal like regular season standing. Yes, they didn't win mid-season madness, but they won the playoffs in the end. And therefore, it feels like the best team won this year. And that's not something you can say about every year. It wasn't the case.
No.
Year one.
Well, definitely wasn't the case in year one. Year two, I think you could probably say.
Yeah. Not in year three, I don't think.
No.
Shock wasn't the best team there. Year four, okay. Best team won. Year five.
It's up for debate still.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Close one. I still think Glatz is probably like at least equal. Yeah. So for this year, I think Mayhem was like in aggregate throughout the entire year average, the best team. Yeah.
Yep. Easily. The fact that like in the regular season, Mayhem still were able to kind of like take the reign and beat them in a game 5, like that really kind of sells me on it. The fact that they had that head to head to say, yes, no matter like the meta interpretation, whether or not we meet each other in the playoffs, it doesn't matter. Like we still got that over you. I think that like matters a ton to like the aggregate performance of like crowning the best team of the year. Because again, I agree with you. I think Western culture in terms of sports, or at least NA culture in terms of sports, is just like who wins the Super Bowl, who wins the NBA playoffs. It's like, well, no, like that's its own award. I feel like there should be an award for like the best team across the year, no matter like however upsets happen. I think sports is a little bit harder, but also easier for that stuff to happen because it's, there's physical limitations and people get hurt and whatever.
Right.
But when it comes to esports, I feel like there is like definitely room to like celebrate the best team. And I agree. Yeah, I think that I don't hate the idea that Florida was the best team all year because they were at the top, like you said, fighting neck and neck kind of all year.
No, well
Happy
deserved.
for him.
Well deserved.
100%.
Clearly the best team at playoffs. I don't think. I'd be interested to see how they would fare against Atlanta, but realistically, there's nothing really that suggests to me that they could have had a chance.
Nope.
And given that, I just have to assume like the Mayhem were clearly the best team at the event.
Yep. I would there is like a sadist in me that would love to see London versus Mayhem.
Yeah.
And they just gentleman's agreement to play Ryan and just to see who the better the Ryan team is, you know?
I think they would not have done that.
I don't think they would have either, but there's something in me that's I wonder who's better at it.
Yeah.
But and yeah, if you're not going to GA and Mayhem just wants to pick apart London, I think they have stuff prepped. I think they have more than enough stuff to kind of get it over the line because again, London has and London showcased. If you want to talk about a team who again proved a lot of people wrong once again, they have a very clear style, but the hands sometimes they just ain't there.
And it's a lot.
It is it's a little bit of a hands gap, and that's okay because again, a team with negative budget with a bunch of players that really shouldn't be here got here and not only upset maybe a tournament favorite, but gave a respectable showing in the playoffs. That I think is a fucking huge W.
Yep.
For Chris, for Nuki, for that entire team, and the last few years, I think they and the Mayhem show that Overwatch doesn't have to necessarily just to be about copying the meta. You can kind of facilitate your own style to a degree, right? There is limitations to it. And I feel like Florida is that great mix of the rigid, season 1, season 2 mindset, but also, the London, the Chengdu, the super stylistic teams that kind of preset them.
Yeah.
And so
once again, it might surprise some people. I guess I can talk about it now, but
sure.
I actually voted for someone as MVP. And
you broke him, folks. You broke him.
Nah, I think I was okay. I was on the lip train for a lot, but then I reevaluated the arguments and also realized, do I actually hate Lip's claim? Or sorry, do I actually like Lip's claim more, or do I hate the type of counter arguments that I'm encountering? And then I had to cut through that bias and go okay, yeah, a lot of idiots are making shit arguments for someone, but he has a legitimate argument, and I shouldn't value that against him. Yep. So, in the end, it was close still. I think you would have to say it was close. I also this notion that Lip has somehow been found out as a fraud or a 3 champ Andy is so you don't understand Overwatch. I'm sorry.
Silly. Yeah, that's actual narrative analysis, hindsight, recency bias, all of the trappings.
Also,
you've got him.
Was literally not his fault.
Oh wow, God, and that's that's the most difficult thing when you try to actually have an honest conversation about somebody's award, potential, because when you say that Lip isn't flexible. That's in the context of this year. Anybody who knows anything knows that Lip is incredibly flexible. Homie can probably still contend with some of the best tracers in the world. He is a top tier hit scan. They put him on Sombra all year because he's just the best Sombra. Turns out when you hit a playoff patch that nerfs Sombra and you still try to run Sombra and your tank's kind of not, in line with you. Yeah. And it's not your meta, yeah.
Dude,
it's this isn't there's nobody. This isn't a fraud MVP nomination.
Dude, when I interviewed Gamba and he said yeah, it's really good to have Merit on my team. I know if it's a Widow meta, he's going to be the best Widow. In my mind, just with bells and whistles, cap. That shit still has to be Lip. I'm sorry. Until proven otherwise, Lip is.
Widow meta? I think there's a lot of names up there. I think I want to see MN3 on a competitive team. And I'm sorry, Brawson, God bless. You've been a gem all through the Owl era. I don't know if Infernal this year was a really competitive team. That's not their fault. Just the fact of the matter. I'd love to see MN3 on like a competitive team because I think like he could probably contend there. I think Shy has a claim there. I think people. I think Merit's probably evolved and grown out of his days, but like there was real, I think Kenobi can probably also like I attest to like the heated debates that he and I would have about like who some of the best like hit scans were while Merit and Shy were both active in China. And I think we both kind of sat on opposite sides of the fence there. I think there are some like really fun experiments to be had, and I think, not to completely circle back to like the format discussion, but like why not have those metas? Why not have the seasons where it's like we have the rush season, we have the dive season, not the season as in like a season of play, but more of like as like the weather changes, we change the metas and the archetypes that we've kind of like come to know and love. You know what I mean? So we can have that discussion to say, okay, who's the best Widow? Who's the best Widow team? Who's the best at facilitating their Widowmaker or their whatever long range hit scan is hot at them, right? I think that would be kind of fun because like I don't know that it is Lip. I think Lip has a great shot, but we got some fucking hitters out here. We got some cracked hit scan talent. I think a lot of people sleep on Sparker too. Criminally underrated. Is he the best? I don't know. But I think a lot of people don't like to give him his laurels. In terms of kind of celebrating, obviously the winner of the playoffs, maybe even the best team across the year. Who do you think was the best story at the tournament? The team of the tournament, if that makes sense.
For me, still Mayhem.
Okay.
I
would probably
Spark. Okay. You want to say, right?
Yeah, I would say Spark. I mean, those games were just.
Yeah, no, like they were too eloquent this weekend to me, and like the impact they had with their words on me was too profound as to discard Mayhem there. I think
that's fair.
I think like what we heard in the aftermath, how serious Spark took this. Fair. Like okay. I was not too sad about the not double LM, just because it, there are legitimate arguments as to why single LM is okay, especially in the context of Overwatch and granting, advantages and how often it actually really happens that someone comes from a lower bracket and wins the match that they didn't in the first merry-go-round, which, by the way, 7 out of 8 times that didn't happen. So it makes for boring, like it just makes it more likely that you're going to have more boring matches. But the argument for Spark that they would have liked to hit Houston again makes sense in light of a press conference that I had with the Spark where they're like, why the reverse sweeps happen? Because we got to figure out that fucking meta while we're playing that shit. And then by map 3, we have some inkling. And then by map 5, we understand how they play. So from that point of view, also knowing how little scrims they had or practice opportunity in order to apply or to adapt to this new ecosystem, yes, I think there is some merit to that, and therefore, I think they were hard done by the format for sure.
A little bit. I think a lot of it's either the format or the logistics. Either you give them more time to adapt mid tournament, or you give them more time to get there prior to the playoffs, so they can get into the scrim culture, better understand the meta and like how NA plays it. And then I think a lot of that kind of struggle that they have in those reverse sweeps, again, back-to-back reverse sweeps, I think that probably goes by the wayside, and that Houston game is a little bit more competitive.
Let me say something about like the rumors that recently came out about Leaf and Shy, right? Okay. Where, I haven't done proper reporting on this, right? So I can't say with any certainty. But I don't think any of the decisions are yet set in stone. Mainly, there are very vital timelines coming up, right?
Yep.
The first big one is, and I'm not sure when that is, or if, I don't think it has already passed, is the end date of contracts for Overwatch League players.
Right.
And presumably, theoretically, we are now running close to the, like at least in prior seasons, to the deadline as to when you had to declare if you were going to pick someone up on their option. Okay.
Sure.
So I'm not sure if that has passed or not, right? So if that hasn't passed, like the players that have options literally don't have a say in the meta. Okay, that's first up. So if that was to be the case, we literally cannot know at this point, right? Second being, from what Albert said, is like we need an owners meeting, we need a proposal, we need a vote, and then we need to see what else is next, right? Depending on what comes up there. Yes, but like we also like have the contract timeline. What are you going to do? Have every team release and then figure out that they had a change of heart and are actually wanting to continue, which is like a admittedly very low percentage chance, or even not? What if you still want? And to be fair, then they would have to sign new contracts anyway. But you're putting your franchises or the organizations behind them in a weird position where they would like to retain their talent, right? In an ideal world, where I think it is. I think it's very different to say, I do not want to be part of the Overwatch League anymore if it means I get 6 million. And I am
but
not
I still want to compete.
I'm not interested in Overwatch at all as an industry. It's those are two different things, right?
Yes.
So, and the organizations also have some vested interest in wanting to keep the identity of their team and retain those franchise players that stuck with them. So these things need to happen very, very soon. Okay. And there are some other hallmark events that are coming up, right? Like ideally, you probably want to announce something at BlizzCon. I'm not sure if they're going to manage that, but we'll see. So like there are really pressing timelines that they need to hit, after which it becomes exponentially harder to actualize anything. And the social component of leaving talented players that, because of our player base already being very young, still very much able to switch to other competitive titles where they expected to have a chance of making probably more money, probably at least equal money, continue their career with more prospects in the future, specifically for the Chinese teams where Valorant is currently popping off. Like there's a lot of carrots out there, and the longer you wait, the tastier those get. Okay? So that's working against you. At the same time, what Albert said, I also agree with, you want to think that shit through, because you do not want to make underlying assumptions that about your game again, or your players, that fundamentally ruin the esport. Okay? Travel and the requirements of how this works was fundamentally flawed. It would have never worked to the extent that this, that's the one thing where I cannot show humility, that if you're requiring a franchise to fly 3 times around the globe in order to travel, this would have not worked with humans, okay, that need to practice between 8 and 14 hours a day. Just doesn't work. And to avoid these false assumptions, now also much wiser because you have some experience, you know a couple of things, right? Like to bake that into the new foundation of a product, that we don't sit here, whatever comes next in a couple of years again and go like, we fucked it again. Like already at the base principles. Whoops. We probably already figured that shit out through Overwatch League, but I guess we didn't hear our own, or didn't learn from our own lessons. So you don't want to do that. So I'm sympathetic to being careful in the conception phase of whatever. Keep in mind, it's still a proposal. It's still a proposal for a new operating agreement that has to go through in first instance. That then has to be denied, and then would have to, have a plan B, so to speak, as to, continue Overwatch esports in a different format with, for instance, third-party organizers. So yeah, there's so much uncertainty, and if folks are telling you they do not know what's going on, that's true. It's flat out true. Yeah. Yes, like, of course, it was finals week. People talk. A lot of stuff was said. A lot of stuff that directly contradicts each other was said. And I doubt anyone has more clarity what's to come after the weekend than before. Okay. There's still so much up in the air where we got to figure that stuff out. And I will say the way this uncertainty was handled, especially towards the end of the broadcast, was a masterclass. Okay. Yeah. So I felt like, okay, this is sad to say, but in its death rattle, in its loosening of tongues, in its battle royale-esque nature of when you're out, you might be out forever.
Yep.
This became so meaningful that it actually transformed the quality of the competition for me. I think it was very much could be felt on the broadcast. Yep. If we can bottle up some of that magic, because like your product being fundamentally better, more real, more meaningful for a weekend will not magically attract 500k viewers, okay?
Of course not.
But if you deliver this reliably over a year, it will grow again, okay? Yep. As people realize there's something like the truth nuggets, the meaningful nuggets to be, and the fun nuggets, of course, as well. It's also an entertaining product. It's not just like your, your moral boost in order to keep going in life. But I felt like in what might have been a death rattle, it became beautiful.
Yeah.
And like Zoe, but also everyone else. I think, for instance, how the desk handled the situation after the Donghack speech, that's a special moment where everyone, especially Johnny, I felt, really handled the situation well and contextualized the achievements of this young guy expertly. Yeah, like there's really not much to say. Like I found it very dope. I remember back last year that this was not the case. I felt like the allocation, I assume Toronto Defiant had to make that decision, to bring all the talent, even Avril from Australia, which is not cheap to fly someone out.
Cheap, yeah.
Like, to my knowledge, Avril had never been at an offline event of Australia. I'm not 100%.
Yeah. At least not to work. I think he was there last year at BlizzCon.
Maybe, yeah.
Something like that. Maybe the finals. But I think it was on his own dime.
So for all of Eric says confirmed, so I believe it. I asked the Oracle of Delphi, okay, and I didn't even have to pay a sub to it.
Let's go.
So in that regard, like also you have to sort of, not just sort of, but you have to also say Toronto Defiant did a great job at organizing this event. I only heard positive things from the folks that were at the arena. Yes, the stage, especially for someone that had been as MSI at IM Cologne.
It's not.
It looks a little bit like, It's
better than the science lab in Hawaii, but it's not, the multi-million-dollar Emmy-winning stage that Riot.
But it's
give.
Also not about that,
somewhere in the middle.
Right? It's about the action. In the end,
yes,
I still truly believe. First and foremost, esports is about players, and the importance of everything else has been greatly exaggerated. Okay,
so true.
And I felt like all the, like fizzly and bops and beats and whatever, like jingles, collets, whatever you have around you, it doesn't matter if the esports on the stage is great, right? And a lot of it was. And we could do better with better formats that would facilitate better experiences even, right? But at the end of the day, it was still, I think a lot of people also, due to the nature of the event, realized what this game meant to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure, like, how it was for you, but I was totally fine. Like once again, I felt like a stoic that had sipped the poison for as long as I have known that this was going to happen. I was completely fine. And then that trailer played, and I saw Alarm's face, and dude, I was not okay, and I was not okay the day after either.
That's surprising to me, because I feel like we had like very split reactions. I saw a lot of this after the fact. But like Zoe's speech, the memories in memoriam with the alarm, and that send off. Even like Uber's final call, like as he passed it back to the desk, was like very touching. But yeah, no, it didn't hit me super hard. It was just, I was proud more than anything. I was proud to kind of be a part of this in like a small, very tiny way. I was proud of the community. I was proud of the broadcast for like knocking it out of the park. Just I was happy that we, much in the same way that you kind of mentioned, like in our, potentially final moments of this chapter, because I'm, of the ilk that I don't think Overwatch esports is going anywhere. It's just, this is going to be the death as we know it of the Overwatch League. Yeah, I think we found ourselves again. I think we got back to what, captured people's hearts in the Apex era. What we were kind of sold at the beginning of the Overwatch League era with like the Crusher 99 story and some of like the Apex transitionary players, right? Like the players that everybody kind of latched onto, the teams, the names, the ideas that people latched onto. And as those kind of players fell away and those narratives kind of got clouded by the marketing arm of the I want to be the NFL guys. I think we came full circle. I think we remembered that this is about the players, like you said, that this means something to people. This is an emotional experience.
And I have to say, it also produces rage, because this notion that it is about the players was something that actively was suppressed behind the scenes on the broadcast. Absolutely. Where who always put the game first. The game first, and then the brands, and then the players. And that's not a sustainable model. And it's also absolutely not what this entire era of entertainment is about anyway. If it's really like, it's all about influencer marketing. This is like a young demographic that's especially susceptible to that. Like in no shape or form does any of that make sense. Okay. Like, unless you just want to be super greedy, and like, even then you're just like, you're not growing the pie in order to have a bigger slice for yourself. You're just trying to have the entire pie and think you can grow it bigger than, like, you can't. Oh, you only get, like, those players are your engine. You ought to help those guys self-actualize. That's your story. That's your product. And then you get to get a share from that. That is likely going to be bigger than whatever the pie that's... The pie to the face that you took by having to pay 114 million out to franchises now. Congratulations. Sure. So I hope everyone that comes after realizes that it is about those guys. And it only ever was about those guys. I'm happy to include coaches, because they're part of the suffering, they're part of the storytelling, they're part of the narrative, and they are very much part of the ship. Okay. They have skin in the game. Their story matters. Oh, shit.
For audio listeners, alarms kind of moment in the final video kind of pop back up, and might have caught a whiff of something. Some onions were cut there for a second.
Yeah, I feel like that's the way forwards to once again remind ourselves what this is actually about, and it's not the game. Mm-hmm. It's also like, I hope I always get emotional and sort of like pissed off whenever that principle is violated. I remember like calling out the league for having a teaser that was just showing off character models, and it's like, that doesn't matter. Where's the players doing this? Where's the faces? Where's the motion here? Okay. And then I see the championship winning skin and it has no resemblance. Nobody was asked, nobody was contacted, not even an email was shown. You do not get it. You do not get esports. Yep. Okay. That's when I get mad and like probably should be more diplomatic, but like this is not probably not what happens. And then I look across the pond, dude. God's fucking slaps again. Okay.
Yeah.
For those,
I haven't seen it. I haven't listened to it, but I've only heard good things about the video. I've heard the music is a little.
Yeah. Like
it's okay.
I think they had a little bbit. The story is just more complex than Rise. The champions are more harder to emulate in visuals. But I also am not too happy with the song. I don't think it slaps as much, but that type of visual storytelling that could have carried us along hard. And I think that's something I have some opinions holstered and to what extent you could even go with. Dude, like I'm just going to say it on this broadcast, like usually it's dark, like nobody's going to get here anyway, and those that do are the real ones anyway. But
sure,
why do we stop at MVP skin, which we don't even have? But like, honestly, dude, if it was up to me, I'd give the MVP a hero. Okay,
like in what way? Like a new
as
hero?
In a new no. That's a problem with competitive integrity.
Okay.
But you look at the guy,
and
you look at the attributes of the guy,
okay,
and you take that as inspiration for a new hero. Now, here's the Delulu part of that suggestion. You're not going to get that shit done in a year with the development cycle that we have. But other games could totally do it. I understand the reluctance of we have. Like, essentially, in many ways, I'm asking the Overwatch League and Blizzard Entertainment to put their hand back in the bear trap because it's nice and cozy in there, and there's the big bucks. Because, yes, we have been shat on by giving trust to some of those players that absolutely ruined that trust and bit the hand, okay?
Sure.
I understand the reluctance there, but that's the risk you got to take in this business. I'm sorry.
Yep.
The best that you can do is facilitate systems where that happens
Doesn't happen.
much less frequently. And you got to say it is a systemic problem in Overwatch because the frequency at which this happens here is higher than in other esports. So tackle that problem. Don't tackle the problem of not wanting to tell player stories because there's a chance of milkshake ducking. I'm sorry, that's not how you live your life, and that's not how you run a business.
No. I've always been like very upset by the fact that we don't even have like not hype content, because I feel like that like gets a little misconstrued, but like trailers. Does that make sense? Like I think some of the funnest moments in esports for me, the stuff that like makes me like nostalgic, are the trailers. Like the trailer to the final for Apex Season 2.
Oh,
it's
dude,
like all the
I could watch that
line it
forever.
up. And like it's memorable. It means something. I think the Apex ones didn't tell like a great story, but there was still some storytelling in there. I think, OGN are the kings at having visual storytelling be incredibly apparent. I don't think you need a crazy budget. I don't think you need an animation studio.
And OGN didn't have that shit either. Like they weren't like super hyper stuff.
You rented a fucking, and they've done this in the past with like the Soul and Dynasty, that for that matter, and Fusion, I think back in the day, I think a year ago, where they had like the content like day where they did some stuff. I think there was like a whole like photo shoot and like a building, and they had some like real fun. There's a lot there that can be explored. That like there is a low bar that you can meet that I think would accentuate and really kind of open people's minds up to the idea that, not just why they're watching this playoffs, because there were so many stories to watch, whether it was Decay finally maybe getting one, was it, the Cinderella run of the Spitfire, was it the Chinese super team running at home, like where was the in-depth interview pieces with those stories? There just wasn't. And yes, that costs money, I get it, but like this isn't, nobody's asking for high production budget. Just tell a story.
It's also, there are, like, I remember just like the whiplash of how much better Zed was, right? Like, do you remember when Zed was?
Oh yeah, it was insane. I mean, I didn't even really care for that, but it was better.
Yeah, but it was also a dude that was one of the community.
It was like endemic, yeah.
Like that, like it's a guy who got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that was feasible. Like he played the game. He got the people. He was reasonably within the age bracket of that. He's just a gamer. Okay.
Yep.
And that is also another part. It's like, you know, who you
miss that too.
Who you want to bring onto the journey.
Yeah.
Right.
You know who we brought on? A bunch of paid actors. Unironically.
Yeah.
Shout outs to all the random actors that came up and were like, I love the Los Angeles Gladiators. They are my favorite. Overwatch League team.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Smile for the camera, everybody.
Yeah. That's how we do it in Philly.
That's how we do it in Philly, baby. We're here dominating. Any final send off for playoffs and perhaps a chapter close?
No, I think once again, everyone that was at that event or like
killed it.
Yeah, from what I could see, like I'm not just like blowing powder up your ass. You actually worked your asses off. With like that. The fact that I don't have really anything to moan other than like the under budgeting, like hopefully like, you know, in contrast to others. Yeah. Okay. And then also whoever did that, that, you know, goodbye video also gets it.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Right. That's also a person that understands what it's about. Like, yes, there's some time, you know, for some, you know, showing off the heroes and then going into individual plays of the players and then go into the faces and to the personalities and whatnot and like going through the years there. That's it.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much more.
Nope. Not asking for a lot.
And it helps, honestly, like just for my taste, the type of vibe that the Mayhem had this year, especially like plays like Someone and Checkmate and how they communicate is like that's my shit. Okay, like just like meaningful banger after meaningful banger, dude. Like we did this playoff content where we asked people,
what's it like to be you?
What does it take to be you, and why is it worth it? And the answer that someone gave, like it was like the answer I basically told everyone I got in for. It's like it's super interesting how different people answer this question. Like some are very analytical in, I get up, blah, 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 and then I do this, and it's a lot of hard practice. And like he just took it to a level where it's just like, you know, very essential. What is it? Who are you? Okay, in this. What is the personality? What's the engine behind your improvement? It's not like, I get up and I swing 100 Rhinehammers, which is a fair, like, fair answer to the question. Yeah. But like, and I think also the way the folks answered found an audience. For instance, Violet said like he's doing it for the fans and whatnot. I think that resonates greatly. To me, what resonates is an answer like someone's, where you said like it's not hard to be someone. By the way, also the
great quote.
The symbolism and just like I felt like the universe was just like conspiring or like moving, shape-shifting in a way to make that quote extra epic because that guy was called someone.
Yep.
And how that quote comes together, it's almost like a many-faced god situation, but like with meaning. And it's like everything about this was dope. When he said that and went back and I listened to Swing Chip's translation, who once again, by the way, knocked it out of the park and on all the translations. I got chills, dude. I watched that shit back for myself a couple of times. And yeah, I mean, that just like personally, it really contributed to the experience of feeling like those players were extraordinarily skilled at articulating what it meant to them. And maybe also because the added stakes of this tournament added towards the meaning and brought it forth and brought emotion forth. And I hope we get much more of that in the future.
I mean, we still have World Cup to look forward to. Again, we're not out of the woodwork. The year's not over yet, folks.
They dude. Like that shit actually made me. I just want to see more of those guys, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'll actually watch World Cup. It's fucking crazy, Joe. They got
me. They got you. They're breaking you, dude. Yeah. I think this is a big year for you. I think it's a big leap forward. Getting all emotional, getting all sappy, watching World Cup. You're back, baby. We're so back. Yiska's back, folks. You know who's back, though? Sombra's back.
Oh, yeah.
Sombra's back. She's got a new virus ability. Her stealth is now out of combat. Briefly, because I don't know. I'm interested to see if you have, like, too strong of takes. I feel like this is pretty tame. Like, it's exciting. It's very cool to see, you know, fun new ability. But, like, what does this mean?
I have a hot take.
Oh, are we aligned? I think this isn't that great.
I think she's ass, yeah. I think like her neutral is garbaggio.
Yep. Having a lower amount of agency on when you can do things, and the trade-off is a new ability that does damage over time. Not only might not be healthy for the game, it might not even be very good.
Yeah. By the way,
who wants to play an FPS where you get killed off screen?
But by the way, I'm not sure if everyone spotted the difference in the phrasing of the translocator. But I think that shit works differently now as well.
Could be.
The way I interpret what is said there is you throw the translocator, and then once it like hits something or like, yeah, I'm not sure how it would work if you have a much shorter, like, I don't think it will work in the way that we currently have it, where you just load that shit up on a map health pack and you teleport back to that. I don't think that the wording, I would have to look up what the old one was. Throw a beak to the new one, currently shown on screen, and I'm reading it out for the audio listeners, but throw a beacon and teleport to it. It's very different than like teleport to it at a later stage whenever you deem.
Yeah.
Okay. I sense some immediacy in the way this is phrased here.
There's like a timer on like the beacon now.
And then stealth cooldown is reduced after teleporting. Of course, this refers to stealth now being a passive ability. Okay.
Right.
You no longer shift into being stealthed. And that's kind of ass. And then
I would say so.
And then virus, okay, it's interesting. I also would have to see how big the damage numbers are.
Yep. Infect enemies. So virus for audio listeners, if you haven't seen, I'm sure you all have, but for the ones that haven't, infect enemies with a projectile that deals damage over time. Virus damages hacked enemies at a faster rate. I almost don't care.
Yeah. But once again, like I don't have any insight into like how this shit actually works. So
yeah, that's where a lot of like opinions go to like really be formed, is like, how much damage are we really talking? How fast against a hack target are we really talking?
Mm-hmm.
Does hack still operate the same way where I get an amplified amount of damage? So am I doing faster and more damage, you know, more often? Like, what are those numbers? Are they still the same? Or are they different? We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
How does it, you know, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a hand wash argument, but like, how does it play? Are we right in saying that like the stealth passive is a little lacking? Does it feel really shitty to die off screen to like a damage over time ability?
Mm.
Like, I don't know if that really has a place in an FPS. Like that's kind of weird to me. It's not something that we're not used to. Like, we have dynamite, that's fine. But from the teaser trailer that we got, with like the Rhine, and she like throws her little virus out and it hits him, that's kind of lasting for a while. That's on there for a little bit. It's already bad enough that people rage bot out when they died like a random like biotic orb from Moira.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this is going to be a universally liked ability. We'll see. Depends. Again, devil's in the details, but kind of lackluster, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Certainly interesting. I also don't mind that if she was to be garbage. Like,
sure, yeah.
Like,
I'm
down
for that.
That's good.
Yep.
Now, Roadhog, I'm interested in, but we don't know anything about that.
That's one of the ones where like it's a a very shallow pool of tanks to play from. We're getting a tank at BlizzCon. Hope everybody understands us.
Yeah.
They've announced that. That's public. So that's going to be cool. If we get the Roadhog details, that'll be really cool. We'll see what that looks like, because again, like having more tanks, it's not lost on me, and I hope it's not lost on the public that, you have somebody like someone leading the Florida Mayhem, being the facilitator to a number of different styles. The only way that happens is if you have tanks to facilitate those styles that are interesting, that do different things, that open up, archetypical exploration. I think that'll be really fun and really cool. So the more tanks that they add that are a little bit more dynamic, I'm here for it. And I think Roadhog could be that, but we'll see. That again, that's a devil's in the details argument all over again. Yeah. Any final thoughts with Sombra?
Nope, not really.
Nope. All right. So new segment. Here we go. Unveiling it today. Hills to die on.
Fucking.
We're in our fields, folks. We're in our fields. We're going back in time. We're lore masters at the end of the day. And who better to nitpick? Who better to dump lore on than ourselves, right?
True.
So, how narcissistic, right? So every week, the two of us will be battling each other and featuring the community as well. We're going to be going back and trying to find our hottest takes and forcing the other person to try to defend them, or just completely tap out, or just talk about the story of how that piece of content came to be, the context of it. And we're going back in time, and we're going to open this up to the public at the end of the show. If you guys leave a comment, if you want to go into the Discord and tag us, we're going to try to folder some of these and feature some of the funny ones, the ones that we think are cool. But the task is for the community to find some of our hottest takes that never really resonated with you, never understood, couldn't stand, whatever that was that kind of stuck out for you. That Yiska said that the shock or the best ever, and whatever it is, you send it our way, and we'll try to feature as many as we can towards the end of the show moving forward. But we're trying this out. Do you have one to start with, Yiska? We're gonna do a couple, and then we'll probably close things.
I only got really one for you, and
okay, it is a little out of pocket.
Joe,
it's pretty good. It's a good one.
Joe, why did you think that WhoRU was going to be the new Flash? And for audio listeners and Overwatch fans who don't know, Flash was an absolutely legendary StarCraft player that was called God before Faker, was an insane player, still probably the best esports player of all time, if not top 3 at least, right? For reference, none of Overwatch players would be remotely near to the top 20, okay?
No, yeah.
So, and to top it all off, Joe called that shit after Apex Season 2, okay? the man had won one tournament and then promptly got benched for being a little shit. And yes, he won his first bench ring, something he got. Yes, he's the Flash of bench rings, okay? Joe, that's what I will grant you.
He's a legendary figure for winning and not playing.
Insane. Like the golden bench, okay? Why?
The actual water boy. I couldn't tell you why, to be completely honest. The ass pullery that I had to facilitate. This was also very early in my writing career too. Not that that's a excuse, it's just context. I just saw a young kid had a great one event and was just trying to get ahead of the narrative. I was just like, bro, here we go, bro. This is the hotness. You guys don't know. I'm fucking in early. You guys gotta fucking back up behind me, because this kid's gonna be a legend. That was back when I was smitten with Overwatch. That's back when it was the fucking hot new thing on the block. Yeah. Sadly, here we are. So you're saying goodbye, closing the chapter, and WhoRU got a ring on the bench for a second time. Not Flash, guys. Not Flash.
You wouldn't die on that hill, you would say?
No.
Okay.
There are hills I would die on. Do you still have the tweet that you sent me?
Oh, the CONBOX one? Yeah.
Yeah, I would die on that hill.
Okay. What is okay? So let me find the tweet. I'll read it out. Yeah, I'm not sure if I too harshly disagree, but like, okay, in 2017, Joe tweeted.
And that was the end of 2017, to be fair.
When all rosters were first being assembled, he said, still maintain my point that the core of CONBOX was the best budget pickup for OWL. Now, we need to look at the CONBOX roster, I think, in order for this to make sense, because nobody, including myself, will remember who was on CONBOX during that time, other than one notable player in my mind, which was Architect, right? Was that the guy?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big selling point. But yeah, like if it's the last season in relation to the tweet, it would have been Apex Season 4, and their starting roster was as follows for CONBOX. Architect. I don't think I need to explain to you like the level of talent that this kid had, right?
Yeah.
Asher, who was a dud. That's a fucking I'd replace him easily. I don't remember how good Sleepy Bear was. I think he probably could have been okay, especially in Season 1. Again, Season 1 there were some ass flex tanks, bro. You were fighting Clockwork for fucking Diva health pools,
keep going. Like,
OG.
Yeah, okay.
Solid player. Solid player.
Yeah, fair. I'll give you that one.
I couldn't tell you who Clover is.
Yeah, okay.
No fucking clue.
Yeah.
I don't. Stand 1. There you go.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently. So says Liquipedia. I don't know if that's true.
Wait, it's off tank based. Okay.
Could be off tank, could be main tank. Who knows? But I take a stand 1. If Clover unironically a stand 1, because I didn't know that. I'd take the stand 1.
Okay.
Oporochi, yeah, I could live without. Revenge. Again, Owl starter. He did play. Season 1, it's still pretty slim pickings. This is a solid start to a team. It has good bones, Yiska. And then here you go. Let me seal the deal for you, because I think this is how I get you to buy in.
Yeah.
I have enough players. I got the core. Maybe I just throw Twilight the bag. Again, he's played with some of these players before. Played with Architect before.
He's probably happy to be fucking like leaving that shit behind, no?
I mean, I don't know.
Wait,
I would imagine
this boy replaced Cox, right? No, wait. How did this work out?
I think let me look. I don't remember where Twilight was.
No, it wasn't.
Wait,
when
was he even playing? Let's see. The lore masters. Yeah, he wasn't in. He wasn't in Season 4. He didn't play Apex Season 4.
Wait, where was Twilight through all of this?
That's what I'm telling you. Twilight didn't play in Apex Season 4.
Right.
CONBOX got rid of him.
But he played. Wait, let me.
I don't know where he was. He wasn't on Runaway yet.
Oh, yeah, of course. He was part of the Runaway roster after Apex. Yes, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if he retired. I don't know if he was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was part of the new juices. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Liquipedia says it was WGS Red, and there are some details that Liquipedia just gets wrong. So maybe his team didn't make it. Steve just found a new team. Who knows? But yeah, I think that there's like reason enough to believe, especially with like the hindsight of like knowing how players signed to teams these days, and even in the past, that I think you could probably snag Twilight and slap him on like a CONBOX core. Be like, yay, you know these guys, get you in the Overwatch League, pay you Season 1 rates.
It's just like, yeah,
it's not a bad team. Season 1.
Yeah, I think
I'm farming Dak and
I feel
Dragons.
like they kind of missed out on Twilight big time. If he actually went to WGS Red and then to Runaway after, that was probably just a weird. Like that guy. Keep in mind, Twilight's 25. By that time, he was definitely eligible, right?
Yep.
So that's a big miss. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'd die on that hill. I'd die on the hill. At CONBOX Apex Season 4. I could work with that.
Also, just in contrast of how gabaggio everyone else was.
Oh, everybody in Season 1 was fucking ass.
Yeah.
God, people
Crazy
sucked.
shit.
You had not only did you have Dragons, Shock was not good. Yeah. I hate to burst everybody's bubble. Sorry, Harsha. Anybody listening? Albert, I'm sure you're not here. Not a good team. Bad team.
Yeah.
Got way better with Architect and Choi. Tell you that.
Yeah.
Way better.
No, there were like a couple of good teams actually. Like the only ones were like NYXL, London, even from that. But even those were washed by that time. But yeah, like you had to assume that they weren't.
Jay Hong on fucking Zen.
Yeah, or Anna.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I mean his Anna was always good, but like his Zen was ass.
Okay, that's what you mean.
I remember when. So again, how the sausage is made, folks. Look behind the curtain. While we were kind of like talking about this in the pre-show, I was going back through like Yiska and I's Twitter like timeline and some of our interactions. We were so true. We were like, bro, Jay Hong's washed in Apex Season 3. He can't play Zen. Season 4, that boy busted out like crazy. Then we got motherfuckers coming into the Overwatch League be like, Jay Hong's the best player of all time. Shut up.
Yeah, nah.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I think he was good at On, and that was it.
Yeah. At that time, I was already like, I was on the train for like Apex Season 2, Apex Season 3. I saw the flatter terrain. Woo! I jumped over. Like directly.
Jumped over, baby. Yep. Hopping aboard. That kid was fucking nuts. And he stayed nuts for a little bit. So he was pretty fucking hot.
Okay, Joe, you gotta have a take for me, right?
All right, close your eyes. I want you to see if you remember this video, okay?
Oh my.
You made a video way back. Let me hit a date. Eric, pull it up. Pull it up, Jamie. 4 years ago. I won't tell you the name, but I'll tell you a quote. I quoted you, okay? Quote. The argument of trying to use scrims, both the argument, the quality of scrims, the content, the quantity of scrims, either has to be very closely evaluated or should not be taken at face value.
Oh, see? With the context, it makes I actually, wow, based. Zero regrets.
Not done.
Okay.
New quote. These are all scrimbux, and they don't really matter. End quote.
Right.
Just saying, homie.
Yeah, no.
I damn well know you're not scrubbing these VODs. You're taking what people say at face value.
Yeah.
You're like, here we go.
Give me that first sentence again, Joe.
The argument of trying to use scrims, both the argument, the quality of scrims, the content, the quantity, either has to be taken very closely, or very closely evaluated, or should not be taken at face value. Are you not taking them all the time at face value?
Nope. No. I actually have a dude. There's a clear pattern. There's some skill to it. Okay, like astrology needs to be learned. I look at Dallas scrimbux. I know they're meaningless. Okay. No, I look at like I look at some teams starting to throw. Oh, I'm like interested. Peeky. Like, and then I can make calls like Valiant wins against the. the Valiant wins against the Titans in Season 2. I can make reads like, did I call a London game or something? Some stuff like that.
You certainly didn't call the playoffs, and you didn't call London doing particularly well. That's all I'm saying. Yeah,
I didn't have scrimbux before the playoffs, to be fair.
I don't think you need scrimbux. I think you doubt yourself. I think your eye is too good. You can make these same calls.
The only scrimbux I realistically had for playoffs was like that, like how the interaction worked and how that facilitated trades with Bernard and WhoRU, and then but like without context, especially like the fucking video is called "Scrims Mean Jack." Fucking hell, nope. I learned the high art. Okay, it's an acquired taste.
Okay, an acquired taste. Much like coffee, scrimbux are a bitter breed.
Look, for instance,
Eric,
like ATL, like fucking track the scrims and everything. That shit is like mega accurate. Okay. Based. It's not scrimmeth. What's this?
Not scrimmeth. I don't know. Eric's breaking. Oh, there it is. For audio listeners, Yiska tweeted 2016. I think the fall. AKM is the apex of Overwatch. If he goes off, he wins you games almost single-handedly.
Okay, during that time it was true, okay? And then it really wasn't much longer, okay?
No, he wasn't.
At the time, it was actually true, though. That dude,
no, he was very good.
The same was true for Taimu. And the same was true... Taimu for a while, especially during like Apex Season 1, Apex Season 4, then again. No, sorry, 3. Like that dude was just like on one. Like would just like I remember the Genji on Volskaya in the room when he was on Widow.
Carpe.
Yeah. Clapping Carpe there. Like he was actually like during his Mr. Good aim arc, this dude was fucking taking over games. And yeah, that was really fun to watch at the time. But yeah, AKM, like just super soldier, really like just like fundamentally, as I recall it, like really good and like just capable of hard carrying at that time. Keep in mind that was 2016. Rogue was dominating everything. I think maybe Johnny was still on that roster during the time. I'm not sure.
Unironically, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
2017 is I think when Rogue did the moves.
We can ask Johnny, but I don't think he would disagree. During that time, AKM was actually like top 3, top 5 player in the world.
Yeah, this was back when like triple tank and like a DPS was like the hotness. Right. This is back when like Ana was getting first introduced, and I think like this was like prior to like Beyblade, so like maybe ahead of Ana being introduced. Yeah, I think I remember like talking and interviewing Flower and him being like, "Bro, AKM just like hits rockets that you just don't expect or think are possible. Like he just hits you." I think the quote was something like he hits them like they feel like bowling balls. Like he just fucking always is just nailing you with fucking rockets constantly.
What was the soldier for Reunited called again? Something right? That played.
I can tell
because
you
Too Easy didn't play the entire time. Balotaja was unfixed. Yes,
unfixed technic. Oh, I'm seeing him as a flex tank, but
no,
or at least he was flex for Wikipedia.
Someone played soldier for them. Not sure. It wasn't Too Easy for the entire time. Well, maybe I'm misremembering, but I think like that was all I want to say. That was the opposition, right? And then I remember later on, like people like Logics came in, and those were like some serious competition. But yeah, like for that era of Overwatch, I think was Nevix. Nevix was my flex DPS.
Nevix, yeah, or flex DPS. Never really even got to like explore what that looks like.
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't anybody on NRG. God bless. Dummy Pooks, Clockwork, Seagull. No,
Tevik was also pretty big at the time, right? Like he was Misfits soldier, I think, and Reaper.
At the time, he was just still on Rogue.
Sorry, still on Rogue. True.
Yeah.
He later. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Right. I remember.
Yep. The only other person I think like could challenge that kind of soldier performance, in my opinion, was Recry back then.
True, yeah.
That motherfucker just
and
fucking...
Saya, maybe? Saya player was also a monster soldier for a while, right?
He was. I always appreciated Saya's movement more than anything else. He moved so different compared to other tracers. Homie just didn't like spam jump. He like... I feel like he was like a pretty early adopter, like crouch spamming. Where like he wouldn't jump, and I always thought was like, oh bro, if we get like 20xx like crazy levels of Overwatch, like the arc of jumping is gonna fuck you so nasty. So the fact that this kid's like ahead of the curve and he's like a good like hit scan, I was like, dude, this kid's legit.
When you think about that era of Overwatch where Soldier was big, which map do you think of? First thought.
Kings.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Kings is up there, but like for me it's Volskaya, interestingly.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's a lot of the old maps, maybe Nimbani sometimes.
And Beyblade?
Beyblade?
Or rather like May Reaper?
Fucking Nepal.
Oh, interesting. For me, it's Hollywood.
Really? I can see that. Yeah.
There was this one moment where Misfits won, and it was like super close, and that there was like one interaction that just like decided the entire tournament. I think it was MLG. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, what an event. What an event. MLG was a fucking... Dude, the lore masters remember that they had to fucking... I'll never debate anybody, or I'll never like claim like top player privilege in Overwatch, because we're just exiting like a developer run league, so we can't really have it. But like, I don't even know if in the league like top teams ever got like to say or got to like pull their weight a little bit to like really influence the rules too much. Maybe you can correct me there.
What rules?
Exactly. But bro, do you remember that Envy had to like fly back from like Apex, and they were like late and they had to delay the games? Like everybody was like just okay with delaying so that Envy could get back.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of
they like moved the schedule around.
Yep.
That would be fucking like, that'd be frontline news. You know what I mean? Like can't get back in time, you fucking just forfeit. Like, you just take the W. I respect everybody who just like agreed. I don't even know if that was the case, that people had to agree, or that the TOs just like allowed it.
I mean, what we would do now is play the manager, right? Oh well.
We had enough of that too. Yeah. Everybody remembers their favorite DPS turned sudden main tank in season 1, right? Everybody remembers Taimu tank.
Yeah,
loves that. Let's go.
Yeah.
Everybody loves is it Jaehong tank? Who is it for Seoul?
No,
is it Jaehong tank?
Jaehong tank.
Yeah. Love that. Love me some of that.
Or Jae-Kong, right? What's the?
Yes, that's right. That's right. What a fun time. All of our main tanks boomed. Well, again, right. That's hills to die on. That's the show. If you remember any and can cite, it's important to cite because we need the clips to show on the stream. But if you have any takes that we gave over the years or that are left in the ether between the two of us, let us know in the comments. Hit us up on Discord or Twitter, wherever you can find us. Just let us know that you hated a take, and if it's worthy, we'll bring it up in this part of the show, and we'll keep doing this if you guys like it. But let us know if you do like it. Yeah, that's 317. Anything coming up, Yiska?
I mean, I'll keep up with the Overwatch content. I'm trying to be part of the problem, so to speak, in terms of
a problem
trying to get people to juice a little bit as well. Okay. I just got word back that someone unfortunately isn't really down to do some dope content that I thought would have been dope. So we'll dig elsewhere. I'm sure someone will juice up, and then we can. I think there's still a lot of info to take out of this season. In terms of what happened and like what lessons were learned and what to do some post-production, so to speak. Of course, I'm still putting my ear to the ground on what's happening in the future. And then for the rest of the year, especially with Christmas content preparation coming up and everything, I just want to get back into feature writing and really put some effort into it. I got some topics outlined that I'm excited about, so... We'll see.
Hell yeah. Dope. I think I'm going to try to get my feelers out for World Cup stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now that everybody's, I never was one to try to navigate the military industrial complex that was trying to schedule interviews with all teams. It's just not interesting to me. As much as I enjoy talking and interviewing players, navigating all of that, and it just was never my bag. But the open-airedness of World Cup, now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere. So hopefully I'm going to try to get at least a couple. And yeah, I think that'll be a fun thing to do. Also, anybody who's made it this far, just go out and buy a World Cup skin. I think everybody forgot that that helps the prize pool. Like, we're crowdfunding the prize pools. I think like Blizzard's done a pretty woeful job of bigging that up and reminding people hey, World Cup's happening. Hey, you can influence players and help them. If you feel impassioned and want to support Overwatch esports moving forward, the best way you can do it, buy something. Right. It's a good thing to buy. You get a skin, get to help people. That's all I'm saying. All right, 317. We'll see you next week. Talking about what? I have no idea, but we're going to figure that out. 317. Bye.
Bye.